Police officers. What's the dumbest thing you've ever seen a criminal do or say? My boyfriend is a police officer. Last week he pulled over a drunk driver who ended up speeding off. Car chase back to his house and drunk guy tells him, "I got home. It's okay. You can go now." Drunk guy continues arguing and it's 3 AM, so his family wakes up and his son steps out to the front porch and yells, "Damn it dad, you freaking idiot. We told you to stop doing this." GTA safe house rules. Armed robbery. Shop clerk tells the robbers, "If you come back at 7:30 PM I will have more money in the register guys." Robbers leave. Police is standing by at 7:30 PM. Armed robbers return to the store and get arrested. In law enforcement but not a regular cop. Middle of search warrant looking for a bloke. Lots of convictions in the past. Found a still burning blunt in the ashtray in the living room. But no sign of the guy in the house. I am 99% sure he is in the roof cavity. I announced to my partner, "I think he is up there. Should we look?" Suddenly the ceiling starts talking. Hear the softest no. Heesh. Can they hear me? Nah. It's all good. So my partner said, "Nah man. I didn't hear that guy say we shouldn't look up there." Ceiling replies with, "Sweet. I knew they wouldn't find me." Needless to say, we looked and pulled a very stoned guy out from under the insulation bats. Side note. They make you itchy AF, so be careful choosing your hiding spots when you're stoned. These are my pants. But those are not my pockets. Can't make this up. Stopped a lady for speeding 15 miles per hour over the limit. I asked what her reason could be for going so fast. She said, "I live here. You can't give me a speeding ticket. I live just down the street. I live here. This is unbelievable. I live here." DUI trial. Defendant chooses to represent herself. She tries to introduce evidence during the trial, but is quickly blocked by the prosecution. The judge, maybe taking pity on the flaming train wreck that was this woman's defense, asks to see the evidence. It was a receipt from the bar she left before I stopped her that showed that she purchased 2 large margaritas. Her whole defense was, "I couldn't have been drunk after only 2 margaritas." She was found guilty. My initial reason for stopping her was that she drove down an embankment on the side of the road to get to a McDonald's drive-thru. I used to work in arraignments and a guy was entering his not guilty plea and confirming that he was true billed, that they have the right name on his charging instrument. After that the court asks if you can afford an attorney and asks some quick questions before giving you paperwork to request a court-appointed attorney. This guy was booked on unlawful use of a motor vehicle Class C. Basically stealing car stereos. The judge asks him if he's employed. He says no. The judge asks him what he does for money. "Oh. I steal car stereos at rest stops and sell them." My brother is a Detroit cop. Told me this one. They get a call from someone reporting their car was stolen. They show up and it turns out someone had already stolen the tires off the car. Then a different group stole the actual car. They pushed it 2 blocks without tires and left perfect grooves in the street all the way to their garage. Their defense was, "But we didn't steal the tires." Detroit, when we rob you, we really rob you. Who TF has the audacity willpower to push a car 2 blocks with no wheels? I am baffled right now. So I will confess my own. I have said a bunch of stupid things in my life, but one of them was a cop asking me, "Why do you think you can go that fast on this road?" And I said, "I always do." I was not really thinking. "I am sorry officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that." Not a cop but a corrections officer. 2 inmates got into a fight in a hallway. I was the closest to them and only saw the start of the fight out of the corner of my eye. In my report I wrote that I saw the 2 inmates fall to the ground with name on top of other inmate. Later, the hearing sergeant was reading the report to one of the inmates, so they could dispute any facts in the report they felt were untrue or biased. He asked the inmate if they wanted to dispute any facts in my report. The inmate said, "Yeah, we didn't fall to the ground." I grabbed the other inmate and slammed his A on the floor. What would have been a simple fighting charge turned into an assault charge. "Sir, can I see your driver's license?" "I don't have one." "Then why were you driving?" "I wasn't, I was traveling." MFW, I'm in a self-driving car and it doesn't pull over for the cop, resulting in a high-speed chase. Not a cop. But I used to read a lot of police reports at my old job. My favorite was a woman who refused to breathe a lizard by telling the cop, "I won't blow on that, but I'll blow on your D." I stopped someone who was in the area of a load of theft from motor vehicles. After a bit of questioning, I carried out a search and found numerous wallets, phones, etc. He claimed that all of the cards were his. All 13 different identities. To be fair, he stuck to his story. He carried it all the way to court going not guilty. Okay then. Mr. Jones, you are under arrest for 12 counts of theft. Mr. Fletcher, you are also under arrest for 12 counts of theft. Mrs. Rodriguez, you are under arrest for 12 counts of theft. Motor vehicle stop. License and registration please. Proceeds to lean over to the passenger seat, scoop up a handful of lomine and tries to put it in the officer's hand. He was locked up for operating under influence, 4th offense. To this day I still wonder if he thought he was passing his correct paperwork or if the Chinese food was some sort of peace offering. Was once behind a dude at KFC who was clearly off his rocker on something. He's holding a plastic bag. Takes him 5 minutes just to get his order out to the lady. When she mentions how much it is, he looks really confused. Then opens the bag, reaches inside, and pulls out a round plastic lid and offers it to the lady. That's a container lid. So, he just looks at the lid super confused and tries to offer it for a second time. My ex to the cop who pulled him and his friends over, I'm so effing high right now. I had a friend back in the day that earned the name DUI'd on because he was driving a girl home after some partying one night. She was faced and he was only high as balls. Gets pulled over. Could easily say that he's sober. Happy to blow into the tube, etc. and get out of it. First thing he says to the cop is, "I'm going to level with you, I'm really high." Spent that night in jail. The cherry on this, and the reason I know the full details of it all, is because the girl with him was 17 and, bonus, homeless. When she didn't have anywhere else to go, she gave them my address, an 18-year-old living alone, and I got to become her temporary legal guardian. Awesome night. Thanks DUI Don. I was waiting to report an incident at a local police station when a clearly distraught man came in wheezing and sweating. I wasn't in a rush, so I let him go ahead of me. "I've been robbed. They took everything," he exclaimed when he reached the counter. The officer working the desk asked him the usual what, where, why and how sort of questions. The gentleman proceeds to explain that he was a local dealer and he just got robbed of his entire stash while selling to some teens at the local train station. The officer just said that there's not anything they can do about that and it's in his best interest to just leave before more questions are raised, and he incriminates himself further. He was fuming and stormed out of the place, slamming the door behind him. I reached the counter and made an offhand comment towards the office, "That must be a first for you." Apparently not. Apparently dealers often come in to report theft of their illicit substances. Responded to an apartment complex for a kid eating a corn dog and was stuck on the roof. The FD arrives and gets the kid off the roof. I asked the kids why he was eating a corn dog on the roof. His answer was, "Because I threw it up there." His look of duh left me speechless. Can't argue with kids' logic. Dispatcher. Had a guy call in and tell us that he's currently violating the protective order by being with his ex who is pregnant by him. Wants us to call the judge and get it dismissed so they can go inside the restaurant and eat. Officer is standing next to my partner who answered the call and asks the guys where he is so we can send the judge to him. Guy hangs up. Woman is waiting for her DUI trial in the courtroom. The lawyers and judge are milling around and getting their paperwork in order. Trial starts in 10-15 minutes. The prosecuting attorney asks her if she wants to take the plea deal one last time. She refuses and goes on about how this is unconstitutional and the police and courts are corrupt and how is she going to take her kid to school, blah blah blah. She is starting to cause a bit of scene. Yelling. Acting like a child. Just being generally annoying. Someone in the room gets a whiff of alcohol. She is out on bond. So she can basically be given a PBT at any time for any reason. Judge orders one on her. She registers a 0.226 in court. This woman who is on trial for DUI had the audacity to drive to court drunk and then moan and groan about how she isn't being treated fairly and we're all corrupt and this is unconstitutional. Not only that, but it explicitly states in your bond conditions that you cannot consume alcohol. So I cuff her and bring her to the jail. She's still running her mouth during the walkover. I had nothing to say. I had absolutely zero sympathy for her. I could barely hold in my laughter on the walkover to the jail. In a city near to me, a guy murdered a woman, put her body in a large garment bag, and left her in a vacant lot. Unfortunately for him, he forgot to take the tags with his name and address off the bag from a recent flight. A would-be bank robber wrote his hold-up note and put it into his wallet. He got rattled at the bank and accidentally left his driver's license on the counter when he handed the note to a teller. A third crook just took on more than he could handle and apparently didn't watch the time. He had a long history of grand theft auto and was hospitalized after being badly beaten in the parking lot of a sports area after a lacrosse game. The guy swore up and down that he had no idea why anyone would assault him there. So my personal favorite was when a bloke on a motorbike swerved in front of our squad car and crashed. We hopped out, picked the bike up off him, it was pinning his leg, and asked, "You alright, mate?" To which he replied, "Of course I'm alright. What do you mean?" "Well, you just fell off your bike, mate." "No, I didn't." He just kept insisting that there was no way he could have crashed, and it must have been someone else. Edit: for those concerned, it was a head injury. He did blow a .17 when tested, so we chalked it up to that. Not a police officer but a witness to a crime who had to give evidence in court. Basically witnessed a girl crashing her car and barrel rolling it into a tree. She was clearly drunk. The fireman arrived after 10 minutes. Her car had leaked petrol everywhere. Then her husband shows up on foot and tries to calm her down, followed by her mother in a car and the police. She tried to claim that she wasn't the one driving, even though no one else had been in the car. In court a year later, she said her mother had been driving, the one who showed up in her own car 10 minutes after the crash. She also punched an officer in the face and was pepper sprayed, but that's a whole other story. Needless to say, she was found guilty. Not a cop but rode along frequently as part of a training program. The dumbest thing I saw someone do involved one of those dog crates that you can carry, like for a small dog such as a Chihuahua. This woman was having a dispute with some people who had their dog in one of those carry kennels sitting on the ground. There were 3 officers at the scene. The woman was given a ticket and tossed it on the ground. She was told, "Pick that up or you will be arrested for littering." When she picked it up, she kicked the dog kennel hard enough to make it barrel roll. She was immediately and aggressively taken into custody and charged with animal cruelty. Friend who is an officer told me this one a little bit ago. He was driving near where a known car thief lived. So he stops by. SUV in the driveway with no tags. Walks up. Runs the VIN. Stolen. Now the property had a house on it. And then out back, a small mother-in-law suite where said thief lived. Officer walks out back. Knocks. And then hears a car door. Officer starts running. Engine starts. And yup. Thief is driving away in the stolen SUV. Officer knows where he ditches stolen cars at, so has an officer stake out that area. Sure enough, 2 hours later the SUV rolls up with a Jeep following it. SUV driver wipes down the dash, wipes down the outside door handle and gets in the Jeep. Officer pulls them over and arrests them both. Why both? The Jeep is stolen. Officer runs her license. Send another officer to her address and guess what? She had a stolen car at her place too. 3 stolen cars recovered. 2 people in jail. All because one officer decided to stop by a thief's last address.